Hey everyone, this is Thomas from Springfield Daily. We are in the downtown Springfield incubator, Innovate Springfield. My last guest today is Mike Leheney, the Libertarian candidate for state treasurer. Again, thank you so much for being here. So please tell me a little bit about yourself and why are you running for state treasurer?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. A little about me. I'm from Bourbonnais, Illinois. Live there with my wife and 3 children. I went to the University of Illinois, graduated there back in 1999. Graduated with a degree in finance and have spent the last 19 years working in finance and developing my skills, preparing myself for the treasurer's role.
All right, and before we get into the specific issues of your race, what exactly does the treasurer do?
Sure. You could look at the treasurer as the chief investment officer of the state. So the treasurer is responsible for investing the funds of the state. As deeply as in debt as we're in, we still manage about $25 billion of funds on a daily basis. So the treasurer is responsible for those funds and investing those funds and maximizing the returns. What they're also responsible for is managing a number of programs, the most famous of which probably is the Illinois Bright Start program and the 529 programs for college savings. So there's a number of other programs too, but that kind of encompasses a little bit about what they do.
All right. So that actually sounds pretty similar to what the Comptroller does. How are they different?
So you can look at it this way. So the Comptroller is basically the accounting department, and the Treasurer's department is basically the finance department. So there's a bit of system of checks and balances there. So accountants are a little bit keeping the books, finance is managing the money, and then a little bit of keeping each other in check.
All right, and so there's been talk, obviously both of those offices are mandated by the state constitution, but there's been talk about consolidation, again, to save money. Should the offices be consolidated? Can they be consolidated?
As a libertarian, I'm always looking for ways to reduce government spend if it's possible in responsible ways. In this case, I don't feel it's a good idea to combine the offices. Again, there's that system of checks and balances there that I think is really important. And also, it's a different skill set between the 2 offices. So I think to be effective in those roles, you need 2 different people.
All right. And so now that we sort of have that background, what are the issues for the treasurer right now? What is obviously the bill backlog, the state debt, the pension underfunding are problems.
Yep.
But where does the treasurer fit into that specifically?
Sure. So I think the treasurer can serve 2 roles in this. And one of my big campaign pushes is once I'm in office, I'd like to overhaul the reporting mechanism in the state. So I want to give people an independent look outside of the 2-party system at what's going on with their money, how different programs are performing. If I can create reporting that gives people a good look into where their funds are being spent, how programs are working, it'll give them the ammunition to vote responsibly. The treasurer's office right now doesn't do that. It works independent, or it works within that party system, and there's no real incentive for the treasurer to expose what's happening in any real manner that voters can understand.
All right, and what do you think will come out with that reporting? I mean, obviously everybody knows that Illinois is broke but not out of cash at some
Yes.
level. What's going to come out with that better reporting?
Sure. Well, in understanding how the programs are broken, we can start discussing real solutions, and we can start electing people who can bring real solutions to the table. Take the pension crisis, for example. We can look at how are the pensions broken? What are the mechanisms within the pensions that are triggering our ability to underfund these pensions? Because we have a responsibility to these state employees. We've promised them a certain payout for their retirement. We need to be able to keep that promise. If we stay on the path that we're on, it's unsustainable. They're not going to get the promises that have been made to them.
All right, and obviously you've talked a lot about the investment. The current treasurer has taken some criticism for having what some are calling activist investing, where you invest for things beyond maximum yields in terms of green energy and improving demographics in the investing pool. Should the treasurer be doing anything other than profit maximization?
I think profit maximization should be the overarching goal. I think we do need to look at what the true returns are on our investments, though. And I think that goes beyond a short-term dollars and cents always necessarily. So while I may disagree with some of the individual investments the current treasurer has made, I think it is something that we need to look at from an overall portfolio perspective. I think too often politics, not just in the investing front, but on all fronts, we think in terms of the short term and a quick Band-Aid and a quick fix. If we can eke out another 20 basis points on our returns in the short term, that's not necessarily going to get us the long-term return that we're looking for. So I think a balanced approach to investing and looking at things like clean energy is a responsible thing to do for the long-term good of Illinois.
Sorry, how much is a base point?
A basis point. Sorry, I'm getting financy here. So a basis point, 1 basis point would be 1/100th of 1%. But so, we're talking about, when you're talking about a $25 billion portfolio, that can be real dollars. But again, it's looking at something over the long haul versus the short term. And I think, if we can, I think trying to maximize returns for a small difference in short-term investment returns versus a long-term good that we could do for the state of Illinois, we need to balance those perspectives.
And so I would assume, based on that answer, that you think there are some things Illinois should not invest in, even if they might be profitable.
Absolutely, yes, especially if there's a long-term cost to the state of Illinois. So vice versa, I think clean energy might have a good long-term benefit for the state of Illinois and could be not on the surface, but in the long run, a positive investment for us. Vice versa, there's certainly industries that we could refrain from investing in if we think there's a negative impact to the long-term finances of the state of Illinois.
Like tobacco.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't want to put you on the spot there.
Yeah.
But
again, I would want to get into the exact investments that we would be going into and understand the total outlook. Tobacco, is what I think a hot button topic, and so it would have to be something you look at closely before you invest in it and understand what is that total return.
All right, and then you mentioned the college programs. Can you explain those a little bit more, and how are they working successfully? Are they underperforming?
Sure, I think under the construct of the way our educational system is set up, they're somewhat effective. I think anytime we can allow people to save tax-free money towards their children's education, that's a great opportunity. I want to lower our overall tax burden, in its totality. So I think that's a great program to be able to save for education. But I think we need to look at the way we're funding education in its totality and get away from the monopoly that some of that state money is being put into within these programs.
All right, and obviously the cost of college is, again, one of those hot button issues, especially for people with children or college students themselves. Can the treasurer have any impact on lowering those costs, either in the short run or the long term? Not just making more money available, but actually lowering the amount of money that's needed.
Yeah, I think there's a number of ways that can occur. I think we need to look at programs overall that we're making money very easy to get for college, which is good. We want to send more kids to college, right? But maybe that's not the right path for everybody. Maybe we need to invest more in children going through trade programs. There's a shortage of a number of people in the trades. So making sure that we invest in education in its totality, prepare people for the economy of tomorrow. College might not always be the right choice for everybody. We want to make that option available to people. But we want to do it responsibly. By giving easy money, it's kind of like if you look back towards the mortgage crisis. We made easy money available for homes. Is it creating a bubble within colleges? There's so much easy money out there. But look at how many kids are graduating from colleges, not able to get a job, not able to pay back those loans. Was it a good investment? Maybe not. But that's where we need to look at the program in its totality and try to find some solutions for that.
All right. And you're, of course, running for treasurer as a Libertarian. Is the treasurer a partisan office? And if it is, what does that even mean?
Well, right now, the treasurer's office is very much a partisan office. It should not be. And I think it's one of the two critical roles, along with the Comptroller, where we should not have a partisan person in those offices. We need somebody looking at our financials independent from the two big parties, and able to give honest financial analysis and honest assessment of what's going on with our tax dollars.
Thinking on you as a Libertarian, I want to transition over to your race specifically. Again, we've written and I've talked to the other guests about the problem, some of the additional hurdles that third parties face. What have you encountered that way?
Yeah, I think there's a number of hurdles, media coverage being one of them, so we thank you for your time today. But ballot access is indeed a huge hurdle for us. It's something that I would want to look at helping reform, and it's one of those things where we're forced to get 5 times the amount of signatures to get on the ballot that the 2 major parties are. It's getting into debates. It's things like that where there's a built-in advantage for the 2 major parties. And, I'm not just fighting for the Libertarian Party. I'm fighting to have more than just the Libertarian Party on the ballot. I want to lower those ballot access requirements so we can see true competition. When you look at a lot of other countries, you see, 6 or 7 parties on the ballot sometimes. It's giving people real choices between ideologies and thoughts. Right now, we don't have a real choice. When we vote in Democrats or Republicans in the state of Illinois, nothing's changed. We need to get third parties in there, people who can think independently out of that team play policy. So,
all right, and obviously you're in the midst of your petitioning season.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my first question is, who can actually sign for you? For example, I've passed a petition not for treasurer, but I passed a established party petition. Mm-hmm. In the primary.
Sure.
Am I eligible to pass for you, and am I eligible to sign for you?
So,
if I was so inclined,
you would not be eligible to pass for us. I believe you would be eligible to sign for us. But the passing part, I think you wouldn't have been able to pass for anybody else at any stage. So again, it's some of those restrictions that are put in place strictly to keep third parties off of the ballot, and that's what we'd like to reform.
All right. And how can people find you if they want to get involved with your campaign, if they want to learn more about you, the candidate, or the Libertarian platform? How can they find you? So
we're currently, my Facebook page would be the best way to get hold of me. It's at Vote Leheney. And then my website is currently under construction, but should be released sometime this week. So that will be LeheneyForIllinois.com. Those would be the 2 best ways to get hold of me. And I will get back to any contacts as quick as I can.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here. Again, my last guest today was Mike Leheney, the Libertarian candidate for state treasurer. And again, just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, this has been the Libertarian Day at Springfield Daily. Thanks for tuning in.